Before you blame your anxiety or depression on your brain, your stress, or your life, look at what you're eating. As a naturopathic doctor, I've seen how certain foods can quietly make your mood, your sleep, and energy worse. So in this video, I'm going to show you the foods you need to avoid if you have anxiety or depression, starting with the ones most people eat every single day. Let's jump into it. Okay, so the first food that's causing anxiety, and most people are stumped by this, is gluten. Now, I'm not talking about whether you have celiac disease or not. I'm referring to the effect that gluten has on your nervous system and your gut lining. When you eat gluten, it triggers inflammation in your digestive tract as well as in your brain. And your brain responds by ramping up your stress hormones, cortisol, and adrenaline. I had a patient named Marcus who came to me saying he had panic attacks. He was waking up in the middle of the night with his heart racing. We looked at his diet. He was eating sandwiches on a regular basis. When we removed gluten for 2 weeks, his panic attacks stopped. Period. He thought he had a mental health crisis. He actually had an inflamed gut telling his nervous system to freak out. The second food is dairy. Dairy is tricky because everyone thinks milk is calming, but most dairy, especially pasteurized processed dairy, causes inflammation and it disrupts your gut bacteria. And here's the connection nobody talks about. 90% of your serotonin is made in your gut. If your gut bacteria are out of balance, your mood crashes. I had a woman named Jennifer come in saying she had moderate depression. She wasn't on any medication, but she felt flat, unmotivated. She was adding cream to her coffee and eating fat-free yogurt on a daily basis because she thought it was a healthy alternative. We switched her to almond milk and coconut cream. Within a month, she told me she felt like herself again. She was feeding her depression without knowing it. The third food is wine. Wine is sneaky because one glass feels fine, but alcohol is a neurotoxin. It disrupts your neurotransmitters. It damages your gut lining, and it worsens anxiety the next day, sometimes even 2 days later. And women's brains are more sensitive to alcohol's effect on anxiety and sleep. My patient Rachel said her anxiety was worse on the weekends. It turns out she was having wine Thursday and Friday nights, and by Saturday morning, her nervous system was completely dysregulated. 1 or 2 drinks might not feel like much, but if you're already struggling with anxiety, alcohol is like pouring fuel on the fire. Here's what I want you to do. If any of this resonated with you, if you're on gluten, dairy, or wine, drop a comment and tell me which one. I read each one of your comments, and I love to see if there's a pattern so I can make a detailed video about it and help you to quit the food without feeling deprived. Now, the bigger picture here is this. Your gut and your brain are connected. It's called the gut-brain axis. Your digestive system literally talks to your central nervous system all the time. When you're eating inflammatory foods, you're sending stress signals to your brain 24/7. No amount of medication or therapy is going to outrun that. This is why medication alone doesn't work for most people with anxiety or depression. You can take an SSRI and suppress the symptom, but if your gut is still inflamed, your bacteria are still out of balance, and you're still eating gluten and wine every day, the underlying driver is still there. The medication is just masking the problem. Here's something important. Gluten, dairy, and alcohol activate your brain's dopamine and reward pathways. They literally feel good. Your brain is addicted to it. So when I tell patients to remove these foods, they often feel withdrawal symptoms such as headaches, fatigue, cravings, mood dips for 3 to 7 days afterwards. But this is normal. Your brain is recalibrating. The key is knowing that it's temporary. I tell all my patients, the first week is hard, but by day 10, you'll feel clearer. By day 21, you won't even crave it. And by week 8 to 12, you'll realize your baseline anxiety was never your baseline at all. It was these foods. Now, I don't want to tell you what to avoid. I want to tell you what actually heals. Once you remove gluten, dairy, and alcohol, the question becomes, what do I eat? Focus on foods that heal your gut lining and feed your beneficial bacteria. Think bone broth, which is rich in collagen and amino acids that literally repair the intestinal barrier. Fresh veggies, especially bitter greens like dandelion and endive, which support your liver and digestion. Fermented foods like sauerkraut and kimchi that directly restore your microbiome. Healthy fats like fish, avocado, and olive oil that reduce inflammation, and clean protein at every meal to stabilize your mood and your blood sugar. The shift isn't deprivation, it's replacement. You're not losing foods, you're gaining clarity and energy. Here's what I see people do wrong. The first mistake is going cold turkey on all three at once while keeping everything else the same. Your schedule is chaotic, you're stressed, you're not sleeping well, and now you're removing the foods that were numbing your nervous system. Your anxiety spikes temporarily, you panic, you think the diet isn't working, so you give up. The second mistake is not replacing the foods. If you remove gluten without replacing it with almond flour bread or lettuce wraps, you feel deprived, you'll relapse. You have to have something in its place. The third mistake is not supporting your neurotransmitters during the transition. Your brain just lost that dopamine hit from the foods that it was eating and normally getting. If you don't actively rebuild your serotonin and dopamine through omega-3s, magnesium, B vitamins, amino acids, the cravings will destroy your willpower. The fourth mistake is expecting this to work immediately. If your anxiety doesn't vanish in week 1, people assume the diet is wrong. But remember, you're rebuilding your gut lining, restoring your microbiome, and resetting your neurotransmitter production. That takes 8 to 12 weeks. Patience is certainly part of the treatment plan. Here's how to actually do this. Don't quit all three at once. That's too much shock to your system. Start with gluten, remove it for 3 weeks. Notice what shifts. Then remove dairy for 2 weeks while keeping gluten out. Then remove alcohol last. This staged approach lets your body adjust gradually and helps you identify which food was doing the most damage. Now, during this transition, support your neurotransmitters. Omega-3s help rebuild serotonin pathways. Magnesium calms your nervous system. B vitamins support your stress response. These aren't optional. They're foundational while your brain is rebalancing. Here's what I tell patients. If you've been eating gluten and dairy for years, your gut lining has probably been damaged. When you remove these foods, it takes time to heal. Most people feel better in the first 2 to 3 weeks. Better sleep, less brain fog, less anxiety, but real healing takes about 8 to 12 weeks. This is when your gut lining actually repairs itself and your beneficial bacteria help to rebuild themselves too. If you quit gluten and wine for a week and your anxiety doesn't vanish, that doesn't mean it won't work. It means you need to give it a little bit more time. Patience is part of the protocol. Can you ever have these foods again? This is the question everyone asks, and the honest answer is maybe, but differently. After 12 weeks of healing, your gut lining is repaired, your microbiome has rebalanced, your nervous system has reset. At that point, some people can tolerate small amounts of these foods occasionally without the same anxiety response. But some people can't. It depends on your individual biology. Here's what I tell my patients. Once you heal, you can experiment. Have 1 glass of wine with dinner and see what happens. Eat a small piece of regular bread and notice your mood the next day. Your body will tell you. But most people find that they don't want to go back. They feel so much better that they never want to return to that inflammatory state. Why does this matter? This is why I created the Root Cause Program, because anxiety isn't always a brain problem. It's often a gut problem wearing a brain mask. And once you fix the gut, everything changes. If you want to figure out which foods are actually triggering your anxiety, because it might not be all three, or it might be something else entirely, check out my gut health quiz in the description below. From it, you'll be able to determine if your gut is actually upset by the foods you're eating on a regular basis. And if you'd like to dive deeper into your gut health and how it's connected to your mental health, check out the next video.